everywhere, GBS.
Good evening and welcome to the Insight Tonight. My name is Eugene Kwach and this conversation begins here tonight. Well, what defines the future of Kenya? It's a very critical question that we're getting answered tonight. It is the vision of its government, the energy of its youth, or the alignment of a shared agenda for progress? In a time when Kenya's leadership faces critical questions, the Insight delves into the heart of this matter. Of course, join me, Eugene Kwach, as I lead a thought-provoking conversation with two of the nation's most insightful minds. And of course, we have Mbudi Gadenji, Senior Counsel and Chairman of the Concerned Citizen Movement of Kenya. And of course, we also have Joel, an advocate for good governance and former senatorial candidate for Homa Bay County, joining us for this conversation. Well, the conversation has been dubbed the plan, the government, the youth, and the agenda. Of course, we're going to have a very candid conversation to critically look at this issue, of course, as we chew it into policies that you, our viewer, can indeed get to swallow. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, Senior Counsel and, of course, Wakili Joel, for joining us. It's quite much a coincidence that Joel is telling me that we were with him in the same high school, actually. And I get to realize that he was my junior back in high school. But thank you so much, Wakili and Senior Counsel, for joining us for this critical conversation that we are having tonight on the plan. And of course, we are going to delve deeply into a lot of issues, but which surround the youth, knowing much how consequential they are, how much they are consequential in the leadership and every facet of in Kenya generally. But permit me to start with Joel. Joel, you had actually, you have shown interest in the leadership positions of this country. Yes, and you being a youth, perhaps if you ask me what maybe leadership means to you as a youth, and perhaps you can also be able to tell us that over time, has the youth been involved enough in leadership?
Which camera is mine?
You can just speak to me. It's a conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Leadership is a key concept in our society. Mm-hmm. And as a youth and the youths of this country, it is something we've, for a long time, not taken too seriously as compared to what we've done recently. In the recent past, we have not made it a critical core concept of our existence as youths. We have just participated for the sake of being involved in the process, that you need to vote or you need to be paid to vote, or that's what we've been doing. Mm-hmm. But as of now, we have noticed and we have realized that without being involved in these systems, mm-hmm. we are never going to achieve a country that we can proudly say that as a generation, mm-hmm. this is what we are leaving for our children mm-hmm. and our children's children. Mm-hmm. That's what provoked me to go for Homa Bay County senatorial seat. Mm-hmm. When I sat and saw things being done just casually, mm-hmm. people not obeying the law, people just trying to bring ideas that don't fit mm-hmm. into the democratic process of our country. Mm-hmm. And such things are what we need to coalesce as a people, mm-hmm. as the youth of this country. Mm-hmm. Those are the things that needs to guide us into the future. Because if we
We've had conversations also, yes. Permit me,
yeah.
of youths
yeah.
who have actually had the position to actually lead.
Yes.
And some of them said
yeah.
that they have not actually led in a way that actually promotes
yeah.
a good governance,
yeah.
as we can say. We have had youths who have actually been part of the bad habits that have been there by those that have always led, if you can say. What do you think about that?
Leadership is a process. It's a process of learning. Okay, nobody was born a leader. These are some things that it's just as it is in life. You get positions. Sometimes you fall. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. Okay, it's only when you realize that I did this wrong, and you've changed towards it, you become better. Nobody's perfect. I don't have discretions for that. Okay, even me. But the thing is, get into that position of leadership or governance, and have a mind that brings change to the society, something that makes it better than you found it. Okay, but I don't know your definition of failure, or people who have come and misled or misgoverned the people. But I think when it's done once, I'm not promoting bad governance. Okay, people mess up, and such things happen.
Do you believe all the youths that have been given chances to lead this country have done perfectly well?
Some have done very good. Some are doing so well. I have
all of them.
I don't want to mention names, but some are doing so well. Some have failed. Some have failed and reconciled with their failure. But I think youths have done something better than what we are seeing today in our government.
So have they been involved adequately in leadership positions?
In my opinion, I would say there is room for change.
Yes.
There's room for growth.
Okay.
But so far, so good. The people we've had, they have shown us a better direction, something that we can emulate, and something that we can go by. Yeah. So I always say, it's a bold move for you as a youth to just stand out and say things are going wrong. I want something different. Okay. Because it's you bringing something new to the system, and you'll always face a lot of opposition. And as a youth, for you to keep going forward and move by it, it's something that we need to embrace.
Senior Counsel, thank you so much for joining this conversation. It's indeed a honor to have your wisdom. It's a very critical conversation that we are having, and you have begun with the youth, which is a very consequential demographic. When we speak about the youth, we understand that they are 75% of our population. And permit me to ask you, Senior Counsel, because we understand that there are constitutional provisions that have talked about representations. One of them, of course, of how maybe the youth could actually even be represented. Permit me to ask you, how then can we even leverage on these constitutional provisions to guarantee meaningful representation and even participation of the young people? And this is because a good number of the youth actually have been used merely in causing chaos, merely tokenized. But of course, we now wish to lead them to be part of the decision-making process. How can we achieve this? Also bearing that you are leading a very critical group, which we are going to talk about later. Yes.
I believe the provisions in the Constitution that brought in youth is an affirmative action. And this is on the realization of the people of Kenya, that they are part and parcel of governance. And first and foremost, when you come to representation, they have equal mandate. They have ability. As long as they are over the age of 18 and Article 38, they qualify to join a party, to become candidates, and to be elected as members of all the representative position, MCAs, members of parliament, and also the Senate, and also governors. What I would like to mention is that the youth have to develop a culture on themselves, and the leadership is contextual. There are some people who will go into governance, the others will go in the administration, and the others who will go into the advocacy. In all those sectors, the youth are involved. The question is how they manage their affairs. You have mentioned about misuse. The first thing is we maybe as elders are also failing because we have not been good examples. We want for reasons to involve them in promoting our own agenda. I think the youth need to be cautioned that they are victims sometimes of people with self-interest, and they must start guarding themselves. The Gen Z have taught us something,
Yes.
that they can on their own do research, communicate, mobilize, so they have the capacity to do that.
Okay.
I want to ask the youth to understand their constitution, and they will find that all the leadership requirements are in the constitution. Yeah.
Interesting. Now that I have the chairman of the Concerned Citizens Movement of Kenya,
Okay.
permit me just to ask you this. What is the agenda
Yeah.
actually that you guys have, and maybe your plan
Very
to
nice.
address leadership challenges
Yes.
as the CCM?
Yeah. Thank you very much. This is a question that I have been longing to answer.
Yes.
The forum that we have been promoting
Yes.
is one that goes to the preamble to our constitution. We want everybody in this country to understand that the leadership comes from the people. And the interesting is about leadership by the people. They realize that sovereign power is primarily and directly in their hands. So parliament is a delegation. Judiciary is a delegation. All those institutions of governance are exercising trustee or trusteeship. And therefore, our agenda is that people must first go back to the constitution, preamble, and see what the preamble says. It's very interesting because the preamble first recognizes who are the people. If I may just summarize, first, the people are people who believe in God. They are people who have respect for their culture.
Yes.
They are people who have, in years, been part and parcel of the struggle. So they respect the ancestors and the freedom fighters. If you look at the preamble itself, it gives you an insight of how governance should take place in our country. Then the next thing is to know that those who are entrusted in the institutions are exercising a trusteeship. Our constitution is about servant leadership. And that is why anybody coming into position of power must swear to respect the constitution and to exercise that trusteeship in the interest of the people. And then we have a constitution that defines the values. If you look at those values, first, there is a compulsion that if you are in government, the first and foremost, you must respect the people. If you are an administrator, you must conform to the constitution. So in other words, we are promoting the ideals of the constitutionalism.
Interesting. So perhaps if I could ask a bit more, who then are you targeting? Are you targeting leaders, the citizens? And how are you going to actually be able to inspire change?
Thank you.
Through,
Yes.
let me just put, how are you going to inspire change if you only have, because I'm trying to wonder how it's going to happen until the whole country will then buy to your idea. Because we have establishment. As you've said, we have had people and politicians who have still used even the youths to continue with their agenda, to actually advocate for their agenda, which sometimes has not been quite a good agenda. So I'm trying to wonder, what exactly are you doing to even reach other parts of the country to buy into your agenda and even get to inspire the change?
Yes.
Because if we need the change, then it means that it has to be bought by so many people.
Yes, thank you, Kwach. One of the most important things is that if we are to bring change,
Yes.
we have to start somewhere. And we start from self-examination.
Okay.
What is our position in leadership? First of all, you ask who are the targets? Yes, we have a target. The first thing is leadership. We are encouraging people to do critical analysis of the type of leadership that we have in this country.
Okay.
And the first thing is whether it conform to the Constitution, the principles of governance, and also to find out whether those leaders are leaders of integrity. Because if you lack integrity, if you have no leadership qualities, then you are a failure. You cannot be in the position of leadership.
Okay.
And by the way, I'm not talking about any particular person. I'm generally saying any leader in this country
Yes.
must first of all respect the Constitution.
Yes.
He must also know that he is a servant leader.
Yes.
He is not a master.
Yeah.
We also must respect institutions.
Yes.
You can't lead unless you respect institutions.
Yes.
For example, we have the parliament.
Yes.
If your leadership is in parliament, you definitely are a trustee. You are representing the people.
Yes. Okay.
The views you present in the people must
Yes.
receive full participation of the
Yes.
people. And you also must make sure that there is sufficient consultation with the people you represent.
Okay.
Now, if they are talking about civil servant, they have guidelines.
Okay.
How to deliver services, there are financial regulations, and there are regulations in every aspect of leadership
Okay.
that shows you now every law has been reduced into workable and understandable rules and regulations.
Thank you.
Now you are asking how the citizen, for the citizen, we have to awaken the citizen. I think our people are lacking a very important asset,
Yes.
the need to interrogate leadership.
Yes.
We have talked about how leaders should be. We must also have the citizen interrogating
Yes.
the type of leadership we have.
Okay.
Both, we're starting with the highest leader, who is the president, and going down. And also realizing that their strength is in their vote.
Yes.
You are given a vote so that you put a mark and then endorse somebody.
Well, I'll put senior counsel. Let me cut you there a bit and let us go to Joel. Joel,
Yes.
you are a young leader. Let me put it as that. And an activist,
Okay.
a lawyer. They're talking about the plan. But the big question has always been giving power, leadership to the youth is not a problem. But how will the youth then manage? Let me ask you in simple words. What is, according to you, what is your vision? Maybe as a young leader, because you're also part of the CCM.
Okay.
According to you, what is your vision for the youth, particularly in leadership? You can talk about maybe your community and even for the country as a whole.
Okay.
Yes.
You are simpler in the first instance while you're saying giving power to the youth is not at all odd. Giving power to the youth is not easy, and power is never given to anyone. That's one thing that we need to understand. There's nobody who's going to give power to the youth. Okay? It's the role of the youth to stand up and say, you know what? Enough is enough. What is happening in our country is something we can't bear anymore. Okay? We can't be lied to. We can't be misgoverned. We can't have a government that curtails the powers vested in the Constitution, that the judiciary answers direct to the executive, and the legislature does that.
Joel, you're putting it as if the youth cannot be corrupt, if I'm getting you clearly. When you say enough is enough, now then the youth has to take power.
I am not saying the youth cannot be corrupted.
Yes.
Okay? The youth have not been tested. You hear me? This, I don't want to call them the elderly, but the politicians we have now have been having this power for quite too long. They have done their side, they have done their harm,
Okay.
they have done their good side.
Okay.
Okay? And they have been tested, but they have not measured up
Yes.
to what is gauging good leadership.
Okay.
They've been given several chances, then and then and then, year in and year out.
Okay.
But what they have done has not convinced us that this is what we need as a good governance. Okay, the youths have not been tested to a point to say that they can't manage. Okay,
Okay,
it is just a propaganda that has been spread for a very long time that you're inexperienced, you should never do this,
Yes.
you should only be involved in voting, you should, which is a perception that needs to break off.
Yes.
Okay, as a society right now, in most places, if you check, I'm not promoting violence or anarchy, as they would say, but if you check in many areas where there's been bad governance, for example, in Syria and Bangladesh, it's the youths that have stood up and said, you know what, enough is enough. It's the university students who came out in Bangladesh and said, you know what,
Yes.
we don't need this government anymore.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay.
We are going to have our own systems and structure them in a way that follows the law, in as much as this doesn't come as an apparent appeal, but we are going to do it in a better way.
Okay.
That is what the youth of this country need to do.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
That is okay. Let me get back to you. Of course,
Yeah.
on the state of governance in Kenya, because we're speaking about. We talk about governance.
Yeah.
There is quite a lot of issues, and there's this critical question which I tend to ask, because we have understood by greatly that corruption indeed has been a menace, undermining governance, despite numerous legal frameworks and actually anti-corruption institutions that we have had. But permit me to ask you that, what do you see as the root cause of this persistent issue? And of course, maybe what are the legal or structural reforms that you could suggest from where you sit, Senior Counsel, that could actually help us to dismantle the systemic corruption effectively?
Thank you.
Yes.
First thing I would like to mention is that over time, since independence, we have developed laws, regulations, and institutions to handle corruption. So maybe what I can say immediately is that we have the hardware. What is lacking is the software. Corruption is a state of mind. It's what you morally do, either to enrich or to give an advantage to somebody. And in Africa, and maybe Kenya in particular, it is palpable. You can see there is corruption here, and there is corruption starting from the police officer at the bottom of things, up to the highest office. Now, that corruption is not committed because there is no law. In fact, there is the Anti-Corruption and Economic and Crimes Act. There is the Traffic Act. There is also the Police Act. All those give guidelines as to what should be done. But the police officer is still taking a bribe, sometimes in the open.
Yes.
And you can also see corruption, if we start from that as an example, is mutual. There's a giver and there's a taker. So if you have to bring a solution,
Yes.
we must address the moral aspect, and we must make sure that the crimes that are detected are prosecuted to the end.
Yes.
So machinery is there, it can be employed,
Okay.
but we are not employing it.
Okay.
In the grand corruption, we have a bigger problem.
Yes.
And that is where the public resources at the highest levels are misused, abused,
Okay.
and stolen.
Okay.
We must have a committed judiciary.
Okay.
We must have a committed prosecutor.
Okay.
A number of cases are pending in court.
Okay.
If you ask the reason, you can find. I can give you an example also that the citizen can take on
Okay.
and prosecute.
We're going to come to the judiciary, which is quite critical in
Yes.
governance.
Yes.
But of course, permit me to ask you, and just to bring in this conversation, because even as we talk about corruption being a menace to our governance structures. I was having a conversation with Professor Gola and, of course, Dr. Mugasha just the other time.
Good friends.
And of course, they're advocating for alternative leadership. And when you look at argument is that the executive and the legislature have failed people. And I thought it right to ask you this question because you have sought for the position to become a senator.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, what will you do different? And from where you sit, what is this, even the state of governance?
Okay.
Bwana Wakili.
First of all, the aspect of democracy is built on character. Okay? That is what the framers of democracy didn't give people. That is the manual that was never given to the people. Okay? Democracy is not built on some probate wall that it will just happen. Okay? Constitutions are built on character. They are people-based. Okay? As a leader, as a youth, as a citizen, it's your role, okay, to be involved in it. It is something that won't propel itself to its execution. What we have as systems in this country are better placed. We have a good constitution, a few amendments here and there, that's debatable. We have good systems of governance. We have a very good democracy. But the people that are mandated to serve in these positions are the ones misguiding people in the process.
Okay.
So the thing that needs to be brought differently in our governance structure is not a new idea. It's okay. It's just morality, integrity in whatever you do.
Yes.
Do everything, follow the rule of law, and lead the citizens in a manner that is guided by the principles that governs our constitution and that governs us. There's nothing new we are bringing. We're just bringing something that ought to have been there from the beginning, okay? Which is morality, which is good governance. That's all. So this country, what our country needs, is nothing new, okay? It's just us to become humane, to become good leaders, to bring governance that suffices what is provided for in our constitution. That's it.
Thank you so much for that view. You speak, though, like a politician. Of course, sometimes we have had politicians speaking so big. And I think that is one of the issues that we have had in our governance structures,
that's right.
which is quite systemic, where people speak, and then when they get the leadership positions, it then doesn't happen. And some of them actually even blame the system, because the system has been in a way that then you just have to align with what is happening within the system. But good to hear you reasoning that way as a young leader.
Permit me to correct you.
Yes.
I'm not speaking like a politician. Okay?
Yes.
In as much as I've been to a political, vied for political, I'm just trying to bring the key concepts, what is needed, literally, just logically.
That was what I
What is needed for our society.
Sure, Joel.
Yeah.
I think this...
You know, the moment you mention speaking like a politician, it diverses.
There's something I also wanted to add.
Yes, just in 30 seconds, can you take a short
sure.
break? Yes.
Okay.
Just add.
Yeah, I
as
was just saying that the problem with corruption is enforcement.
Yes.
In our view, as CCM,
Yes.
one of the things we should do is empower the people to prosecute.
Yes.
I was going to give an example
Yes.
of the Goldenberg scandal.
Yes.
The initial prosecution was a private prosecution.
Yes.
So this question of waiting for the government to prosecute,
Yes.
we should liberalize
Okay.
and open space for the citizens
Okay.
acting as people to prosecute.
Now that we've talked about prosecution, when we come back, we'll delve deeply into that. Of course, even as we touch into the 2010 Constitution, what it actually talks about and tells us a bit about governance. Well, we're taking a quick short break. We'll be right back. But of course, 21144 is our SMS line. At Quach Official is where you get us at GBS TV Africa. You're watching GBS TV.
on today's topic, we are going to be talking about manipulation and gaslighting in relationships. Manipulation and gaslighting in relationships.
Vitu zinahappen hapa nje imekuwa privilege kwangu kuja kuongea cause most of the things zinahappen hapa nje ziko according to that show.
If you love the man because so unajua if you love akili inafungika na macho, you won't see anything negative in the relationship.
So this guy I was dating back then. So he was more of a drunkard,
Alikuwa mlevi.
yeah, he bangy and stuff. So I come home, like this time I come home, like he's totally drunk. So like anani force kufanya like, you know, that stuff when you gonna harm you kufanya this thing, like I have to do it. Need drugs na control.
You said you have never been in a manipulative relationship, right?
I've been in several, but not in any manipulative relationship.
Hakuna yenye ishaikuwa
Not
manipulative.
manipulative, maybe toxic, but not manipulative.
Toxic you have?
Yeah, manipulative no.
Because kuchezwa nao ni lazima. Lakini
Wewe ndio unacheza ama wewe ni wachezana?
zote.
I guess hiyo ingekuwa funny.
I'm going to do anything to keep this relationship.
You are trying to force issues na mimi sikutaki. Si uende.
Ni sawa.
Toka.
Wa out ya mapenzi wewe. Ogopa.
Karibu sana.
Welcome to
Fun.
Dance Class. Today we will continue learning about Jingle Bell Rock. Friends, first you cross your arm and put it on top of your head, and as you go in left side, you open it, then you come back to your place.
And then you make your leg 90 degrees, and then as you put your legs until 90 degrees, you need to jump a bit. 1, 2. Then as you jump a bit, you need to stretch your hands downwards.
Everywhere, GBS.
Thank you so much and welcome back to this conversation. We are still here with Senior Counsel Brigadier Denji, and of course Joel, he is here with us as we continue with the conversation. To the bond before is our SMS line. Continue chatting with us, of course, as we get to this conversation. Gentlemen, thank you so much. We continue with this conversation. We talked about, and we have been talking about governance and leadership, and we have looked at the youth. But even as because the youth have been quite a critical component generally, but now there's a very, another aspect that I wish us to look into, and that is the 2010 Constitution, which has also been quite critical in the governance of this country, which of course has been to transform leadership, promote equity, and actually even to decentralize power through devolution. Before I ask maybe how far we have gone with the Constitution, permit me to ask you a question based on what you had mentioned earlier, and that is on the judiciary. Because the judiciary has been a cornerstone of Kenya's democratic governance and of course the rule of law. And over the years, the judiciary has faced various challenges and actually undergone significant reforms aimed at enhancing its independence, of course, transparency and efficiency. Now, understanding the performance of the judiciary during different periods is crucial actually in appreciating even the evolution and the impact of these reforms to delivering of justice. And now, you being a senior counselor who has seen this transformation, who I believe has been experiencing this transformation, because we have had 3 distinct periods, as I get to understand. That is before 2002, from 2003 to 2010, and of course, after the implementation of the 2010 Constitution. Permit me just to ask you, in evaluating the performance of the judiciary throughout these distinct ages, periods of time, what is your take going forward?
Thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, judiciary has had challenges, and you are right. It's a very important institution, and therefore is an institution where we focus on when we are talking about empowerment of the people. And I go back to the people, because the people made this constitution. Before 2010, and specifically in 2002, we had a lot of problems, which had started wrong way back. If I may mention, we lost our judiciary in 1995, 96. And in 1996, we had an actual confirmation that our judiciary was dysfunctional. And that was from the International Bar Association and also from the Bretton Woods organization. And therefore, a lot of critical analysis was done in 1995 that ran to those reports in 1996. Then, in 1998, the judiciary itself realized that all that had been said about it were true. They formed a committee. Unfortunately, it was called Kwach Committee. I don't know whether you have any relative called Kwach, but Kwach, the judge, is the one who started the inquiry, an internal inquiry.
Yes.
After this internal inquiry, they actually went into the field, into courts, and they found it true.
Yes.
They themselves recommended some magistrates to be dismissed summarily, and that was done. Then from there, we came to 2002, and in 2002, there's a change of government.
Yes.
After the change of government in 2003, we have the surgery. Again, that means the judiciary itself was re-examining itself and making recommendation. And that, what we had in 2002 was the Ringera inquiry, which was joined also with the Royal Society. After that, then a number of judges were removed, a number of judges resigned. I was part of the investigation and inquiry of 2 judges of appeal and 1 of the High Court in the tribunals. And I would like to mention that is the first time that the judiciary faced tribunals. Well, the first tribunal was actually Chief Justice Chunga. He resigned before the inquiry was done. All that period, there was an accumulation of problems. They were not resolved, but they were identified. So in 2003, the inquiry was done up to almost to 2007. And then 2010, maybe I mentioned 2002, there was a question of how do you deal with the judges? And the tribunal was formed. But when we formed we brought in the new constitution, we had a problem. Because the urge was to sack everybody, to send all the judges at home, home because of the many misconduct that had been noticed. Some were clean, some were not clean. I do recollect, I was in the reference group, and we discussed how do we send the whole judiciary home. I recommended vetting, screening, so that at least we leave some to manage the courts, to manage the police station where there were people held in custody, in prison, and the rest. So we brought in a vetting. So the vetting also was done as a transitional exercise. A number of judges were also sent home. To give you a kind of a summary, because it's a very long story,
Yes.
our judiciary main problem is a cycle which comes every election.
Yes.
Every time there is an election, we have a problem in the judiciary. And one of the reasons is the interest of the state. And the interest of the state is ensuring that there are favorable judgments or there are no orders that affect them. So even currently, we are not out of the woods, because after the election of 2022, the judiciary is not performing quite well. And you can see from what is happening today. I didn't know it would be a topical issue out there in the place, but it is.
Even
So,
today.
Even today. I mean, out there, you know what is happening.
Yeah.
Again, the biggest problem in the judiciary is appointment of judges. You appoint people because you know them, they come from your region, or you want to bring a regional balance. At one time, there was a big problem in getting quality material for judgeship, because also there was fear of interference. We have overcome that because some of the judges we have today are doctors. They have, they're very qualified people. And we have put a margin of 15 years. So anybody who has served for 15 years is well informed in law. The problem again, as I said, is not the hardware, it's the software. Our people are easily manipulated by the state. Others, or out of their own self-interest, have gone into corruption. So in short, our biggest problem since 1992, if I can, 1988, if I can be specific, is interference by the state, by the executive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, has been interference by the state for the longest time.
Yes.
I wonder how we're going to get to solve this. But of course, let me just come to you as we'll get to answer that. Permit me just to ask, so because when we talk about the new constitution also, it introduced something called decentralization, and that is where now we had county government. You had run to be the senator for Homa Bay County. Just from where you sit, how has this transformation maybe transformed or maybe changed leadership from where you sit? As you speak, it's 2010 constitution.
Yeah, it's called devolution of power.
Yes.
Yes. So devolution of power has been a very good idea in diversification of resources, trickling down resources to up to the lowest level of governance, up to the community level. It has been a good idea to counties and individual governorships that have embraced it. Okay. As we've had now, this idea, its core concept was to give people direct inception of resources, to give them direct accordance. But what has been seen in most instances is it's corruption that has been diversified. Yeah. In as much as this has been a very good idea that needed to conceptualize and reduce poverty levels in our country, you know, some of these things are things we battled since independence. Something like poverty is something that was raised in 1963.
Yes.
That's right.
But it is something still systemic in our governance structures.
Yes.
So devolution came by to give resources directly to the people, to give jobs directly to the people, to have health services to the people, to give people direct involvement in their governance structures.
Yes.
But what are we getting right now?
Okay.
Okay. Every system has been so much curtailed to one stake that it's very hard to even achieve some simple specifics of these aspects.
Okay.
So, still, my clarion call, as I will never stop mentioning this, is to the people.
Okay.
And right now, the most perverse, the most reactive people are the youth. Okay. They are the emblem of this population.
Okay.
My clarion call is still to them to join this and revive our country.
Okay.
Our country is sleeping right now.
Also, still also the same question
sure.
on the constitution, whether it has actually lived up to the expectation of the people that came up with the constitution. Has it delivered on its promise to actually transform leadership, promote equity, and even decentralize power through devolution? And maybe you can talk about, if it has fallen short, maybe how can these gaps then be addressed?
Okay. First of all, I would like to mention the debate on devolution was to remove marginalization. And to that extent, it was a very good concept. How it is implemented is a different matter.
Okay.
And as I said from the beginning, we have good laws. We have a very good constitution. The devolution concept, where you have one government and another national government, was to devolve the functions and resources to the lowest government to reach somebody at the MCA level who is in charge of a ward. That was a very good concept, and it still is. Now, the question of allocation, the question of use, is also properly governed by the financial acts that governs both the national and the county government. So, on a percentage level, I think we have done a very good 40%. And this is from my own assessment. It's not scientific. And the reason why I say this, and I did one mention, is because we introduced a completely novel concept. Our county government has only been there since 2013. National government that we talk about was inherited from the colonial government, only modified, and it is still not perfect. So I would not like to blame a devolution. I would like to say we have, I think, 15 years or so, which we have learned. The fact is this, it has been able to address the road on the ground.
Yes.
It has been able to talk about health and agriculture at the ground level. Reaching government at the national level is always a problem.
Okay.
So with the proper management, and I think I would like to mention that the very idea of a governor was not a politician. The governor was supposed to be a manager, a professional. And that governor must be a youth. There is a generation issue that we must address. We do not have to bring old politicians to become governors. We need to bring young people.
Thank you.
Who are innovative.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Well, because of time, I've been bothered because there's quite much actually that we need to discuss. But it's indeed a great conversation, great discourse, Mawakili. Joel, let me come to you. Because even as we talk about the leadership and governance of this country, at the core of everything has always been economy. And particularly that which concerns the youth unemployment crisis, which different governments have come up with various ways of actually sorting up this issue. And recently, we had President William Ruto, actually for some time he has been encouraging the young Kenyans actually to even seek employment opportunities abroad as a means to tackle domestic unemployment. If I could just ask, maybe from where you sit, your perspective on this, maybe some drawbacks, some potential benefits in it, if you see, and some people are asking that, is the president even serious by telling us to seek employment abroad and not in our country? I don't know your perspective as a youth. What
in the beginning, you asked me my vision for this country. I never got time to answer that question. But in the economic structures of Kenya, it marks the pivot of the greatest vision I have for this country. I want to see a country that is economic. The potential of this country economically is so huge. It's something that has not been tapped into. Because I don't see what is stopping the government inherently from doing its role in creating employment for the people. We have a lot of things that the government can do to create employment for in its just simplest capacity, just investing in this country alone. Because we have land that stays untilted year in, year out. We are an agricultural state, and here we have a number of youths. I actually, when I got here, I was walking by the roadside. After coming, I was walking. I went back to see. I have a lot of youths sitting by the roadside. I would say literally doing nothing because there was nothing they were doing. It's not because they want to do nothing. Well, some might be inherently lazy. I don't say, but they don't have anything to do. The role of a government that we put in place is to govern us, is to lead us, okay? Is to show us directives on which ways to follow, okay? It's to be expansive, to give us, to give its citizens the benefit of the fields they put them in place for. A government should put it as its own mandate to give the citizens employment and jobs. Not just jobs, but good jobs, okay? For example, you see what the United States government is doing right now. Just sorry to, but it's something that happening right now, so let me just tap on it. What President Trump is doing right now is bringing billionaires to invest in the US. Okay. Is bringing the Prince of Saudi to invest almost $1 trillion in the, was it $1 trillion or something? Okay. In the US. He's bringing, he's trying to devote China through a TikTok thing he's trying to bring investment to the US to benefit the citizens of the US. He's not telling them that let me take you to China to go and do something so that you can get a living for yourself. Yes. You get?
Well said. Yeah. Well said.
So our president should be well informed that we don't have to get jobs in foreign countries. He should take it as his own mandate and his government to create jobs for people in this country.
So according to you, immigration is not a solution to unemployment?
To me, I don't think that's the best approach.
That is okay.
I have something to say on that.
In 20 seconds.
Yeah, I have a very big issue with the president. Okay. If he wants to promise us or promise our youth jobs abroad, I'd like to know whether this is skilled or unskilled. For skilled labor, the president doesn't have to do it because they are needed there and they'll make their own way. For the unskilled labor, is a very serious issue.
Yes.
There are some countries, especially in the Middle East, who still believe in their culture in slavery. So unless you want to take our young people to slavery, then that's a very bad policy. And in any case, I agree with my running friend that the duty of the government is to generate jobs within this country. And we have the potential. There are years we used to have expatriates. Our expatriates now are in the youth. We should mobilize them, we should give them resources, and where they cannot get employment, we should encourage self-employment.
So what structural reforms are we looking at here?
I'm not very competent to talk on this issue, and Professor Ogora has done it very well.
Yeah.
But our country has a lot of resources that are being misused and that has not been used. It is high time we direct our youth to do more research, we give them resources to do research, and we also empower them. The IT, the technology has given us an access to a lot of resources in minerals, in IT itself, because I believe that what is between the years of our youth is a resource. Empowerment. Without restrictions.
Interesting. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time with us, of course.
And Kwach, before you conclude,
yes,
there's something that our country needs to understand.
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's very important.
Yes.
In this age and time, we should not be having the president, going to cut sugarcane somewhere and telling people that it's giving pro bonuses. We should have a state that, right now, everyone is talking about nanotechnology. Everyone is talking about, how is it called? AI and AI transformation and the networking systems that happens. That is what we should focus on right now as a country.
Let's do it. But permit me to cut you short.
No problem.
Because of time. And you guys have to
Make sure you call us back again.
Yes, and you guys have to speak again because there's one more question. It's at the end. So one more question is generally because you guys have talked about a lot of issues that are happening. And of course, today we were speaking about the plan, the government, the youth, and the agenda. And of course, maybe when we get to have time, we'll get to discuss the plan of this government, what it had in campaigns and what is actually happening, Joel. But let me just I'll ask you both, like, what do you believe is the single most significant barrier, actually, that is preventing Kenya from aligning the energy of the youth with the vision of the government? We have seen Gen Z revolution and so on and so forth. And even the other time, President Uhuru talked about the youth as being a ticking time bomb that could actually explode any time. Raila Odinga has spoken about the youth quite a number of times. And we understand this. If the leaders understand this, then what is making them not actually have an agenda for the youth? And I'll start with you, Joel, as this is our closing remark, even as we come to the end of this show.
That's a very easy answer. I would just say utter incompetence and lazy leadership. That's what we are seeing every day, every time.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
These things, you know, as a president, even if you are inherently lazy, you don't know your role. But these things are provided for you in our constitution. Okay. They're well labeled for you to follow, that this is how things are to be done, and here and here and here. We have systems placed for you. You have advisors. You have a whole system with you to guide you on the prospects of governing this country. Why don't you just do that?
Thank you.
I saw the other time in Kakamega, just 1 minute. You see someone who was elected by the electorates, the people of this county or this country, for example, at large. These people loved you. They celebrated your win, okay? They really marveled at you being sworn in as you mention your name. But now look at how these people hate you. What do you think happens? What changes in a span of 2 years? It's you that changes. So you just need to change. That's all.
Senior Counsel, as you also answered this, as a chairman of alternative leadership, you guys are actually advocating for alternative leadership. Also on the concept of the agenda, because we're talking the people, the government, and the agenda. What will be the agenda if you actually will be the president? Let me put it that way.
Thank you. The first thing is that you identified the percentage of the youth. If you focus that on the definition of the people, then the people should be reading in all the institutions, in judiciary, in government, in executive, because of their great number. Now, why are they not there? One, investment. We have been investing in the wrong places. We only want youth when we want to misuse them, when we want to give them money to mobilize. We should give them to invest and empower them to be propertied. They should be able to do things because from their own they have ability. So the first thing that I personally would do is mobilize. And I think we have also wrong concepts in terms of culture. We think the youth cannot read. The negativity. We need to change our negative attitudes toward youth. And especially this mentality, we must always tell them. Even when Gen Z went to the field, I hear people complaining, bring them and tell them how to do it. Why? The youth have an access to the data. We have Kina Amenya. They have been able to access. So we must liberate the youth.
Yes.
And those are the biggest percentage in our concept of the people.
Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Wakili.
Thank you.
The plan, the government, the people, the agenda. Indeed, a thought-provoking conversation here with Joel, who is a youth activist and, of course, also a lawyer. And we have Senior Counsel Mbuthi Gathenji joining us here for a great conversation indeed. Also, thank you so much for, of course, my guest. And, of course, thank you so much also for tuning in. Every Friday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. we come to you live on GBS TV as we get to dissect critical issues that concern you, our viewer. Well, my name is Eugene Kwach, and on behalf of everyone who has made this a success, we wish you a very good night. See you next Friday.
Everywhere, GBS.